All right, good evening, everyone. Mike Watkins from Hurricane Analytics and HurricaneTrack.com with a quick video update here on Hurricane Isaisa as of 7:30 p.m. Eastern on this Friday night. We're getting conflicting signals from the storm. This is a look at this is a close-up look of satellite imagery of the from infrared satellite imagery of the storm, and it's changed quite a bit today. Earlier this morning, the upper level or the low level center was out in front of the envelope of deepest convection, and it looked like for a while the storm was weakening. But what we've seen since then is the low center has moved up under this canopy, and the outflow on the western side of the storm has continued to kind of push forward. That means, at least at some level, the storm appears to be getting better organized, and there are indications that we're reaching the peak of the hurricane season now. It's going to be August tomorrow. The water out here is 88 degrees Fahrenheit. It's plenty warm, and this has a very strong, and I'll show it to you in a different view in just a moment, kind of connection, a strong moisture connection back into the Caribbean Sea. So these things would all be arguments for intensification. However, we also see the outflows getting kind of smushed a little bit here. So there's some upper level winds that may be pushing up against the top of the storm and preventing it from evacuating the mass, and essentially providing hostile upper winds. It needs needs to be very light upper level winds in order for it to create the hurricane heat engine. But when we look at and I'm going to bring up a different view here. This is let's see, the upper level. Let me clear that out too. Upper level view, or in the upper level winds in the atmosphere. This is a upper level water vapor loop showing us these features that may come into play in terms of where the storm is going to go. Here's the hurricane. We have dry air out in front of it. That's a bit of an inhibiting factor. But we also have here kind of an upper level outflow that's venting or being exhausted into an upper low that's developing and cutting off behind the storm. So this allows for some of the cold air that would otherwise sink and interfere with the storm to be moved out away from the center, and that allows more upward motion from the surface, which would allow the storm to intensify. So again, we have conflicting signals, a little bit of smushing, dry air out in front, but also this trough kind of venting the storm at the top, and we'll have to see if that feature continues to do that. If it does, that may change forecast thinking in terms of intensity a little bit. Now, the players in all of this are an upper trough, which is right here. You can see it kind of moving. It's a front heading down to the east coast of the United States, and an upper high here, which is steering the storm currently toward the Florida coast. The idea was that this trough would continue to progress and ultimately kind of open the door to allow the high to tuck back this way, creates a corridor for the storm to move out, and or potentially impact North Carolina and the east coast of the U.S. The thing is, the timing has changed on this, and so while earlier the models were projecting this to happen a little bit faster, for it to be maybe here now instead of where it is now, and by tomorrow it would be close enough to the hurricane that it would start to turn it. In the last several runs, we've seen the progression of that trough slow down, and we've seen a little bit more of a ridge to the north of this storm kind of blocking its motion, and so our forecast track over the last 24 hours or so has slowed down, and now even some models are showing a close approach to Florida. So here's a map showing quickly where some of the reliable models are projecting this now to be in the next 24 to 36 hours. This is the forecast from this morning at 11 a.m. It's been shifted south as of today, very close to the Florida East Coast. And then here are some models, including the UK Met model, the GFS ensembles, the Canadian, which have a little bit of a weaker system moving even in south of Miami. And then we have, this is the GFS consensus, but essentially bringing it right over Boca Raton. Now, any of these are certainly still in play. The point is the trend has shifted a little bit, and I'm going to show you that here. I'm going to show you an animation of all of the different, here we go. This is all of the different forecasts for this hurricane since the beginning. There we go. Oh, I know what. Since the beginning, I'll bring up here we go. I have to bring it all. Okay. This is everything since the beginning of the hurricane as it came off Africa. Now watch what's happen. What happens as we get to the to Florida, and I'll put this in motion so you can see it. As these dots essentially make their way up, these are the different forecast positions out over time. Notice that when we get closer to, and I'll speed that up there, initially the forecasts were starting to kind of turn out to sea here, but over the course of the last maybe, again, 24 hours or so, the forecasts have moved back into this area right now, and I'll animate that again for you so you can see it. There we go. And that's the thing, because the trend was away from Florida and maybe even away from North Carolina and the U.S. coast entirely, now back toward us, again, because of those features slowing down. So, again, models aren't gospel. The hurricane certainly could go anywhere in between maybe these 2 points, which is kind of the shape of the cone of uncertainty. But because of the modeling changing, now the forecast has changed, and they've now included Palm Beach County in the hurricane warning. Going back to this map, though, and clearing out all of those different things now, this is probably why, let's do the last one. This is why they probably extended the warning south to Palm Beach County. If the storm comes in, like, again, right at Boca, like we showed, or I showed earlier, then all the hurricane force winds would be north of the center, and that's in fact where the hurricane warning is now, and we've got tropical storm warnings further south. Because the wind is coming in off the ocean, it's piling up surge, but the wind around the storm, especially if it stays as a Category 1 hurricane, would go over land and buildings and all kinds of friction-causing objects on land here. So by the time it reaches us, say, south of Palm Beach County, I live in Fort Lauderdale, we would be dealing with tropical storm force winds. So this certainly makes sense. But if future model runs are to continue to project a further south track, then it's possible that a hurricane warning might get extended further south to, Broward or potentially Miami-Dade County, again, depending if it were how far south the projections go. Because if we get something like this, then certainly Miami would need to be included in that warning. But if it does come in this way, the thinking is maybe it'll be a little bit weaker, or there'll be a little bit more time to include that warning at a later date. We don't know. So this is a difficult forecast challenge. There are a lot of different conflicting things that are happening in the atmosphere that are making it very difficult for us to understand this. But the key takeaways are: prepare for Category 1 or 2 hurricane, have supplies for a week, be prepared to have the power out, make sure you have your medications, things like that, and then we'll just continue to watch the storm. But it's not set in stone where it's going to go. Anyone telling you they know doesn't know, because that's not how science works. Science doesn't work that way. We deal with uncertainty. There is no assumed certainty about anything. But we'll continue. I'll continue to watch this tomorrow. If there's anything changes, I'll do another update. Otherwise, make sure you get your information from the National Hurricane Center. Get your official updates there. In fact, there should be one coming out very quick soon, if it's not out already, with the 8 p.m. position update. And then just continue to watch again tomorrow. And again, if this changes and we see a speed up or slow down on the track, or north or south, I'll come back in and do another update at that time. So thanks again. Mike Watkins from Hurricane Analytics, hurricanetrack.com. Thanks for watching this update, and probably see you tomorrow.